Have you ever wondered why a man can seem deeply interested one moment, texting you every day, making plans for the future, opening up in ways he never has before, only to suddenly become distant just when things start to feel real? It can leave you asking the same painful questions over and over. Was it something I said? Did I move too fast? Did he lose interest overnight? Or was everything he showed me in the beginning just an act? If you've ever watched someone slowly pull away without giving you a clear reason, then you already know how confusing and heartbreaking it can be. One day you're laughing together, sharing your thoughts, and feeling like you're finally building something meaningful. Then the replies become shorter. The calls become less frequent. The warmth fades. Instead of feeling secure, you're left analyzing every conversation, replaying every moment, hoping you'll find the answer that explains why everything changed. And here's why this matters so much. When you don't understand why someone pulls away, it's easy to blame yourself. You may start questioning your worth, lowering your standards, or chasing someone who has already begun creating emotional distance. In many cases, that confusion can keep people trapped in unhealthy patterns for months, or even years, while healthier relationships quietly pass them by. By the end of this video, you'll understand some of the most common psychological reasons men suddenly pull away after getting close. More importantly, you'll learn how to recognize the difference between someone who simply needs space, someone who's emotionally unavailable, and someone who was never truly ready for the kind of relationship you were hoping to build. That understanding can help you respond with clarity instead of fear. And if this has happened to you, you're not weak, desperate, or too much. Relationships are complicated because people are complicated. Sometimes feelings are genuine, but fear gets in the way. Sometimes the distance has very little to do with you. And sometimes what looks like rejection is actually revealing something important about the other person. Here's the part that surprises almost everyone. The biggest reason men pull away after getting close isn't always a lack of love or attraction. In fact, in some situations, the very moment they begin to feel emotionally connected is the moment they become most conflicted. Understanding why that happens changes the way you'll see relationships forever. So let's break it down and explore the psychology behind why men suddenly pull away after getting close. Number 1, the relationship is becoming more serious than he expected. At the beginning of a relationship, everything often feels effortless. The conversations flow. The flirting is exciting. Every notification brings a smile. You're both discovering each other, and there's very little pressure because you're simply enjoying the moment. But then something changes. The connection starts becoming real. It's no longer just about having fun or enjoying the chase. Now there are emotions involved. Expectations begin to grow. The possibility of building a future together quietly enters the picture. And for some men, that's the exact moment they begin to pull away. Not because their feelings disappeared overnight, but because the relationship suddenly feels much bigger than they imagined. This can be confusing because, from your perspective, everything seemed to be going well. He was calling consistently. He wanted to see you. He remembered little details about your day. He made you feel chosen. Then, almost without warning, the energy shifts. His messages become shorter. Instead of replying within minutes, it takes hours. Instead of making plans for next weekend, he says, "Let's just see how things go." You haven't had a major argument. Nothing dramatic happened. Yet something feels different. So what changed? In many cases, what changed wasn't his feelings. It was the weight of those feelings. As emotional closeness grows, some men begin asking themselves questions they weren't asking at the beginning. Am I really ready for a serious relationship? Can I be the kind of partner she deserves? What if I disappoint her? What if I make the wrong decision? Notice something important. These questions aren't necessarily about you. They're often about themselves. When the relationship is casual, there's very little at stake. If things don't work out, it feels disappointing but manageable. But once the relationship begins to feel meaningful, the emotional stakes become much higher. Now he isn't just risking a few dates. He's risking someone's heart. He's risking his own. And that responsibility can feel overwhelming for someone who isn't emotionally prepared, even if he genuinely cares about you. Imagine this. You've been seeing each other for a few months. He texts you every morning without fail. He surprises you with coffee before work. He tells his friends about you. One evening, you're sitting together after dinner. You casually mention a wedding you're attending next month and say with a smile, "Maybe you'll be my plus one." You don't mean it as pressure. You're simply imagining a future that feels natural. He smiles, but something changes behind his eyes. Over the next week, he's quieter. He cancels one date because he's busy. The good morning texts become less consistent. When you ask if everything is okay, he says, "I've just got a lot on my mind." You're left wondering what you did wrong. You replay every conversation. Was it the wedding comment? Did you move too fast? Should you have acted less interested? Meanwhile, he may be having an entirely different internal conversation. If this keeps going, she's going to expect more from me. Am I ready to build a future with someone? What if I'm not enough? Those thoughts create anxiety. And anxiety often changes behavior before people even understand what they're feeling. That's one reason emotional distance can appear so suddenly. Unfortunately, when one person grows distant without explaining why, the other person's nervous system often fills in the blanks. Instead of thinking, "Maybe he's overwhelmed," they think, "I'm losing him." That uncertainty can slowly chip away at confidence. You may begin checking your phone constantly, reading old conversations, looking for hidden meanings in short replies, trying to become easier to love so he won't leave. Without realizing it, you start managing his emotions instead of protecting your own. Over time, that can create an unhealthy pattern where one person becomes increasingly anxious while the other becomes increasingly withdrawn. And here's something many people don't realize. Sometimes the fear isn't commitment itself. It's the identity that commitment requires. A serious relationship asks more of us than attraction ever does. It asks for consistency, honesty, reliability, emotional availability. For someone who has never learned how to maintain those qualities, or who doubts they can, getting closer to someone doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels like standing at the edge of a responsibility they're afraid they can't carry. That doesn't automatically make him emotionally unavailable. And it doesn't automatically mean he's your perfect partner who simply needs patience. The key question isn't whether he feels anxious. Most people do at some point. The key question is how he handles that anxiety. Healthy relationships aren't built on the absence of fear. They're built on two people who are willing to communicate through fear instead of disappearing because of it. So pay attention to what happens after he asks for space or says he wants to slow down. Does he explain what he's feeling? Does he continue showing care, even if he needs a little breathing room? Does he make an effort to reassure you? Or does he leave you carrying all the confusion while expecting you to simply wait? Notice whether his actions still show investment, even if his pace has changed. Ask yourself whether he's creating clarity or creating uncertainty, because healthy relationships usually slow down with communication, not silence. Before you excuse his distance as, "He's just scared," pause for a moment and ask yourself this: is he inviting me into what he's experiencing? Or is he leaving me alone to guess what happened? That distinction tells you far more than his words ever will. Number 2, he realizes your relationship goals don't match his. Sometimes a man doesn't pull away because he stopped enjoying your company. He pulls away because he realizes the two of you are moving toward very different destinations. In the early stages of dating, it's surprisingly easy to focus on chemistry and overlook compatibility. You're laughing together. Conversations last for hours. The attraction is strong. Feels exciting to get to know each other. But as time goes on, the questions become bigger. What are we building? Where is this relationship going? What do we both want? That's where some people begin to realize they're not reading from the same page. Maybe you're dating with marriage in mind. He's only looking for something casual. Maybe you're ready for exclusivity. He's still figuring out whether he wants the freedom to date other people. Or perhaps your values around family, faith, lifestyle, or long-term commitment simply don't align the way you first assumed they did. Here's the important part. That realization doesn't always happen on the first date. Sometimes it takes weeks or even months before someone fully understands what the other person truly wants. And once that realization sinks in, some men face an uncomfortable choice. Have an honest conversation that might hurt someone they care about, or quietly begin creating distance and hope the relationship fades on its own. Unfortunately, many choose the second option, not because it's the healthiest choice, but because difficult conversations make many people deeply uncomfortable. Some people would rather slowly disappear than sit across from someone they like and say, "I don't think we're looking for the same future." That conversation requires courage. Avoiding it often feels easier in the moment, even though it usually creates far more confusion in the long run. Imagine this. You've been seeing each other for several months. Everything feels natural. You meet after work, spend weekends together, and you've even started leaving a toothbrush at his apartment. One evening, while talking about a friend's engagement, you smile and say, "I've always imagined being married before my mid-30s. I don't want to date forever without knowing where it's going." He pauses. He changes the subject. You don't think much of it. But over the next few weeks, something shifts. When you ask about plans for next month, he says, "Let's not get too far ahead." The conversations about the future quietly disappear. Instead of making plans together, he starts saying, "I'll let you know." When friends ask whether you're officially together, he laughs it off instead of answering. Nothing dramatic happens. There's no argument, no breakup, just a slow, almost invisible drift. And because nobody has named what's happening, you're left trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. That kind of uncertainty can be incredibly painful. You may begin wondering whether you asked for too much, whether talking about commitment scared him away, whether wanting clarity somehow made you too serious. Over time, you might even convince yourself to stop bringing up your own needs just to keep someone from leaving. That's one of the hidden costs of emotional ambiguity. It doesn't just make you question the relationship. It can make you question yourself. You start believing that asking normal questions about the future is somehow unreasonable. But here's something worth thinking about. In many cases, it isn't the conversation about commitment that creates distance. The conversation simply reveals a difference that already existed. Think of it like shining a flashlight into a dark room. The flashlight didn't create the furniture. It only helped you see what was already there. The same can be true in relationships. Talking about exclusivity, marriage, or long-term goals doesn't usually create incompatibility. It often uncovers it. And while that discovery can be disappointing, it also gives you valuable information before you've invested even more of your heart. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that because someone enjoys spending time with them, they must want the same future. Those are two very different things. Someone can genuinely enjoy your company, care about you, laugh with you, feel attracted to you, and still not want the same kind of relationship you do. That doesn't automatically make either person wrong. But pretending those differences don't exist rarely makes them disappear. So pay attention to how he responds when conversations naturally move toward the future. Notice whether he becomes consistently vague or simply needs time to think. Watch whether his actions gradually become more committed or more uncertain. Ask yourself whether you're receiving clear answers or constantly trying to interpret mixed signals. Healthy relationships usually don't require one person to hide their long-term hopes just to keep the other person comfortable. The right relationship creates room for honest conversations, even when those conversations are difficult. Before you continue investing more of your time, your energy, and your heart, ask yourself this. If I stopped hoping he would eventually want what I want, what is his behavior telling me he wants right now? That question can bring more clarity than months of guessing ever will. Number 3, he's dealing with personal stress and emotionally shuts down. Sometimes, a man pulls away not because the relationship changed, but because something in his own life has become overwhelming. And instead of moving closer to the person he cares about, he creates distance. This can be one of the most confusing experiences in a relationship because, from the outside, it looks like rejection. One day he's affectionate, present, and engaged. Then suddenly he becomes more quiet. His responses are shorter. He seems distracted, and you start wondering, did I do something wrong? Is he losing feelings? Why does it feel like I'm the only one trying anymore? But sometimes the real battle isn't happening between the two of you. It's happening inside him. Many men are raised with the idea that they should handle problems on their own. From a young age, some are taught directly or indirectly that being strong means not showing weakness. Don't complain. Don't burden people. Figure it out. Fix it. Keep moving. So when life becomes heavy, their instinct may not be to reach out. Their instinct may be to retreat. When work becomes stressful, when money problems start creating pressure, when family responsibilities become overwhelming, when they are struggling emotionally but don't know how to express it, some men respond by shutting down, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to stay emotionally connected while carrying internal stress. Psychologically, this is often a coping response. When the brain feels overloaded, some people naturally reduce outside stimulation. They focus only on what feels urgent. The problem is that relationships require emotional presence. And when someone is already struggling internally, even a loving relationship can begin to feel like another responsibility they don't have the energy to manage. Imagine this. You've been dating for a while. Normally, he calls you during his lunch break. He sends you funny videos during the day. He tells you about things happening at work. But recently, something has changed. You text him, "Hey, you seem a little quiet today. Is everything okay?" After several hours, he replies, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just busy." You try again. "Do you want to talk about anything?" He says, "Not really. I just have a lot going on right now." At first, you try to be understanding. You tell yourself, maybe he really is stressed. But days turn into weeks. The conversations become less frequent. You feel like you're slowly losing the person who used to make you feel so wanted. And the hardest part is that he isn't giving you much information. You're left standing outside a door he refuses to open. That kind of emotional distance can create a lot of pain, because uncertainty is one of the hardest things for the human mind to handle. When we don't have answers, we create them. And unfortunately, many people create explanations that hurt them. He doesn't love me anymore. Someone else must be making him happy. Maybe I was never important to him. The lack of communication can damage trust, even when the original problem had nothing to do with the relationship. You may start becoming anxious. You may overanalyze every message. You may feel the need to chase harder, prove your value, or constantly ask for reassurance. And over time, that can create an unhealthy dynamic where one person is pursuing connection while the other person is retreating further. But here's a deeper psychological insight that many people miss. Someone can be emotionally overwhelmed and still genuinely care about you. Stress does not always remove love. Sometimes stress removes a person's ability to express love. Think about it like a phone battery. When the battery is full, the phone can handle many tasks at once: calls, messages, apps updates. But when the battery is almost empty, even simple functions start shutting down. The phone isn't broken. It simply doesn't have enough energy. Some people operate the same way emotionally. When their internal resources are drained, their ability to communicate, reassure, and connect may decrease. However, this doesn't mean you should ignore your own needs or accept endless emotional absence. Understanding someone's struggle is different from excusing every behavior. A healthy relationship requires compassion from both sides. So pay attention to the bigger picture. Is he withdrawing only from you or from everyone around him? Notice whether his communication has changed across all areas of his life. Has he stopped seeing friends? Has he lost interest in things he normally enjoys? Does he seem mentally exhausted, frustrated, or overwhelmed? Or does he only become distant when it comes to you? That difference matters. Watch how he responds when you calmly express your feelings. Someone who is overwhelmed may not have all the answers, but they usually still care about the impact their distance is having on you. They might say, "I'm sorry I've been distant. I'm struggling right now, but I don't want you to think it's because of you." That kind of honesty creates connection. Healthy relationships usually don't require perfection. They require communication, even during difficult seasons. So ask yourself, am I experiencing a person who is struggling but still trying to include me? Or am I experiencing someone who is consistently shutting me out? And perhaps the deeper question is, if nothing changed 6 months from now, would this relationship still feel emotionally safe for me? Because love can be patient, but love also needs mutual effort. Number 4, he realizes he can't get what he wants from the relationship. Sometimes, a man pulls away because he realizes the relationship is not giving him what he expected. And this can be one of the most uncomfortable reasons to talk about because relationships involve needs, desires, expectations, and boundaries. Two people can genuinely like each other, enjoy spending time together, feel attracted to each other, and still discover that they want very different things. Maybe he expected the relationship to move faster physically, but you have boundaries that you are not willing to cross. Maybe he wants a certain lifestyle, but your priorities are completely different. Maybe he wants children soon while you're not ready. Maybe he wants a relationship that feels emotionally casual, while you desire deeper connection and consistency. The challenge is not that two people have different needs. That happens. The challenge is what happens when those differences appear. Some people communicate. They say, "I think we want different things, and we need to talk about that." Others avoid the uncomfortable conversation. They become colder. They reduce their effort. They slowly create distance and hope the relationship ends without them having to clearly explain why. But why does this happen? Psychologically, some people struggle when reality doesn't match their expectations. At the beginning of a relationship, people often create a picture in their minds of how things will go. They imagine how much time you'll spend together, how quickly emotional or physical intimacy will develop, what the future might look like. Then, when they discover that the other person has different boundaries or desires, they may experience frustration. The important thing to understand is this: frustration doesn't always come from not getting what someone wants. Sometimes it comes from realizing they cannot control the outcome. A healthy relationship requires two people who can handle disappointment. It requires someone who can hear no without seeing it as rejection. Someone who can respect a boundary without making the other person feel guilty for having it. Imagine this. You've been dating someone for a few months. The connection feels strong. He is caring. He checks on you. He makes you feel special. But there is one area where you have decided to move slowly. You explain, "I really like you, but I want us to take our time. There are certain boundaries that are important to me." At first, he says he understands. Of course, I respect that. But slowly, you notice a change. The compliments become less frequent. The effort decreases. The conversations feel different. One day, you bring it up. "I've noticed you've been a little distant. Is something wrong?" He responds, "I just feel like things aren't moving the way I thought they would." Now, there is an important distinction here. A person is allowed to have needs. A person is allowed to decide what kind of relationship works for them. But there is a difference between someone honestly recognizing incompatibility and someone punishing you because you have boundaries. That difference matters. Because when someone withdraws after you express your values, it can create emotional confusion. You may start questioning yourself. Was I being too difficult? Should I have compromised? Did my boundary push him away? And this is where many people begin abandoning their own needs to keep someone interested. They start believing that being loved means becoming easier to access. But healthy love does not require you to betray yourself to keep someone. The right person may not always agree with every boundary you have, but they should be able to respect your right to have one. Here's a deeper psychological insight. Sometimes what a person wants from a relationship reveals what they are actually attached to. Are they attached to you as a person, your personality, your values, your character? Or are they mostly attached to what the relationship provides for them? The difference often becomes clear when things don't go according to their expectations. Anyone can be loving when everything feels easy. Character is revealed when someone has to navigate disappointment. Can they communicate? Can they compromise? Can they continue showing care even when they don't immediately get what they want? That is where emotional maturity shows up. So pay attention to what happens after you establish your boundaries. Notice whether his effort changes only because he didn't get the response he hoped for. Watch how he handles conversations about expectations. Does he become curious and understanding? Or does he become distant, frustrated, or emotionally unavailable? Ask yourself whether you're having a relationship with someone who respects your choices or someone who only feels connected when things go their way. Healthy relationships usually allow two people to have different needs while still treating each other with kindness and respect. And remember, this does not mean every man who leaves after discovering differences was only interested in one thing. Sometimes two good people simply want different things. But the way someone handles that difference tells you a lot about their emotional maturity. So reflect on this. If someone becomes less caring the moment you maintain your values, were they truly connected to you, or were they connected to what they hoped to receive from you? And another question worth asking, if I stop trying to convince this person to stay, would their actions show that they genuinely want to build something with me? Because sometimes the most painful moments in dating are also the moments that reveal the truth. As we've explored throughout this video, there isn't one single reason why men suddenly pull away after getting close. Sometimes it's fear of commitment. Sometimes it's unresolved personal struggles. Sometimes it's incompatible relationship goals. And sometimes the answer is simply that their heart was never as available as it seemed. The important lesson isn't to become a detective who tries to decode every text message or analyze every change in behavior. The important lesson is to become someone who recognizes healthy patterns when they see them. Because healthy relationships don't thrive on constant uncertainty. They don't leave one person carrying all the emotional weight while the other keeps disappearing without explanation. They aren't built on mixed signals, unanswered questions, or endless waiting for someone to become who you hope they'll be. Healthy relationships create peace, not because they're perfect, but because both people are willing to create clarity instead of confusion. That doesn't mean there won't be disagreements, stressful seasons, or moments of doubt. Every relationship experiences those. The difference is that emotionally healthy people don't use distance as their primary language. They communicate. They take responsibility. They make an effort to understand each other, even when the conversations are uncomfortable. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's this: consistency is far more valuable than chemistry alone. Anyone can make you feel special for a few weeks. Anyone can say the right words. Anyone can promise a beautiful future. But relationships aren't built on the best moments. They're built on what someone repeatedly chooses to do when life becomes ordinary, stressful, or inconvenient. That's why actions will almost always tell you more than promises ever can. When someone's words and actions consistently move in the same direction, trust has room to grow. When they constantly move in opposite directions, confusion begins to replace security. And here's something I want you to remember if you've ever been on the receiving end of someone's emotional withdrawal. Someone pulling away does not automatically mean you weren't enough. It doesn't erase your value. It doesn't mean you loved the wrong way. And it certainly doesn't mean you have to become less caring, less honest, or less authentic to keep someone's attention. The right relationship isn't built because one person perfectly avoids mistakes. It's built because two people choose to keep showing up with honesty, accountability, and mutual respect, even when relationships become challenging. So instead of asking, "How do I stop someone from pulling away?" try asking a different question. Is this relationship giving me the kind of emotional safety, consistency, and respect that allows love to grow? Because that question shifts your focus from trying to control another person's choices to protecting your own emotional well-being. The truth is, you cannot force someone to be ready. You cannot love someone into emotional availability. You cannot convince someone to choose a future they don't genuinely want. But you can choose not to lose yourself while waiting for someone else to decide. And perhaps that's the most important lesson of all. The more you understand why people pull away, the less likely you are to chase confusion, and the more likely you are to recognize the quiet, steady kind of love that doesn't leave you constantly wondering where you stand. Because real love isn't perfect, but it is honest, it is consistent, it is respectful, and when it's healthy, it brings more peace than confusion. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had someone suddenly pull away after getting close? Looking back now, what do you think was really happening? Share your thoughts or experience in the comments. You never know who might find comfort or clarity from your story. And if you enjoy exploring the psychology behind love, relationships, and human behavior, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Love Matra. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.